Hey everybody, this is another call-in show. I hope you guys are all doing well. Personally, I'm good, but this is still happening, this whole virus thing. So, wow, it really still, okay, yeah, no, it's still happening. Anyway, thank you guys all for listening. This is the call-in show. Anybody can participate in the call-in show. You just have to be a member of our Patreon. You can join at patreon.com/AITA pod. Please rate, review, subscribe, and you can submit, of course, at AITApod.com. And we love to hear from you, folks. We love the criticism. We love the comments. We love it all. And I hope you have a wonderful Monday morning listening to the call-in show. We welcome Christian to the call-in show. Christian, thank you so much for joining us. You mentioned that you are a middle school teacher based in the great state of Illinois. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing, Danny? Sarah?
Now, Christian, you were telling Sarah and I, this is so funny because you actually signed up for a high Patreon tier. You can pay just $5 and basically get everything you would want. But you were drunk and you went for a higher tier, and I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, your reminders on the show,
yes.
they got to me. It's like earworm, right? Like I was hearing it every day, and it must have just gotten to me. And yeah, I signed up with the Patreon. I'm happy to have done so. And like I said, the highest tier, for now, you guys gotta keep up the content. Otherwise, I might have to rethink that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, if you did it drunk, I won't be offended if you downgrade it because if you were drunk. But let me say this, listeners, drink up, baby, and subscribe on the Patreon. Well, Christian, we're very excited. Sarah got a great little situation for you. We're covering AITA for circulating a petition to have a child removed from my kid's class. Here we go. My daughter's third grade class has a kid in it who has something gravely wrong with her. I don't know if she's chemically imbalanced or what the deal is. That part isn't really my business. I just know how it manifests is the child is highly disruptive to the learning environment. This girl will throw fits in the middle of class. Total meltdowns with cursing and shouting that grinds instruction to a halt. And worse, she'll be very mean, beyond cliquey, like needling into kids' deepest insecurities and making them not want to come to school. I brought my concerns to the teacher after my daughter outlined her initial few encounters with her, and the teacher suggested some conflict management strategies for my daughter to try, which led me to believe it was an issue between the two of them personally, my child and this other one. But then I found out from other parents that their kids reported identical issues with the girl. We all got together and spoke to the teacher, and she said that while she really wanted to help us, that she was bound by certain privacy laws about exactly what she could and could not say. So we went to the mother of the girl. Specifically, I and one of the dads did. So she wouldn't feel bombarded, but wouldn't be able to brush it off as one rude parent's misplaced blame. She vaguely said that yes, her daughter is quote unquote dealing with some things, but that experts have recommended it would be best for her to work through them in a regular classroom environment and to learn norms surrounded by her same-aged peers. We tried to delicately communicate that her learning whatever she is was coming at the expense of all the other kids learning their academics and feeling socially safe. But she more or less said, in a kind but firm way, "Welcome to public school. Your kids are going to have to get along with all kinds of people." We first approached higher ups trying to instigate them to offer them an IEP. We were eventually able to find out that they had been extended services and turned them down. And I don't even think we were supposed to know that much. We're now petitioning to have the child removed from the classroom. There is a camp that feels as though this is against the foundational principles of the education system, that everyone should be able to partake who wants to, and if we don't like it, we should take our kids out instead of forcing them somewhere they don't want to be or don't feel is best for their child. Before this instance, I would have completely agreed. So now I'm wondering, am I the asshole?
Christian, I'm so excited to have you for this because I feel like you can really break it down for us non-educators, and also Danny and I are not parents, which we bring up all the time. Can you kind of maybe tell us a little bit about the like IEP and if other parents are allowed to know about that, and like if they're allowed to get involved in recommending it for someone else?
Short answer is no. The IEP is something that the student of concern, their parents, teachers, and any paraprofessionals that work with them would work together to craft. The students' strengths and needs would be assessed. Depending on what those strengths and needs are, different paraprofessionals, speech pathologists, occupational therapists, psychologists, whatever was deemed necessary based on collected data. They would assess the student, they would evaluate the student, and then they would, determine what are the areas of need. And from there, they could come up with an IEP. And as I was hearing this, before the word IEP was mentioned in my head, I was thinking, well, has the teacher thought about that? Have there been any considerations? There may be behavioral, or independent functioning issues that maybe that student's dealing with. If we're talking about legalities, no. The other parents definitely cannot intervene on that student's behalf.
In a situation like this where the parents have refused the IEP, what other options are really available?
So I've had parents that have refused an IEP for their children. And I understand it. As a parent, as a teacher, it can be difficult to kind of process that. Hearing that your child has these needs that require intervention can be hard. Ultimately, really what it relies on is having a team of teachers, of paraprofessionals, whoever works with that student, talk to the parents and demonstrate that they care, that they want their child to be successful, and that may require certain interventions. But at the end of the day, they have the right. In this particular situation, I would hope that the teachers have had this conversation with the parents, and it hasn't just been hey, this is what we recommend. No, okay, bye, see you later. And that there's continual interventions. And I imagine the OP doesn't see that, even if the child doesn't have an IEP. I imagine there's a lot going on behind the scenes that the OP does not see.
It just seems to me like, why does there need to be anything complex here? I mean, she's blatantly interrupting class. That seems like grounds for things like a suspension, especially obviously if we're talking about a repeated series of incidents. I mean, that doesn't seem controversial at all. Is there like an escape clause where that would just completely fly under the radar? I mean, that just, if you're being disruptive, that's usually a check mark or whatever, right?
No, yeah, there should definitely be, consequences, and there should definitely be positive behavioral interventions as well. I didn't hear, maybe I missed it from the write-up, but is there no consequences? Is this girl just getting away with whatever she wants to get away with?
I feel like that's what OP
question
describes. OP seems to act like this is completely going down with no repercussions whatsoever. And that's actually why I have some kind of bones to pick with OP. I think that they're really failing to deploy kind of any empathy here. And I don't really like kind of the way they worded some of this. The girl throws fits. Does she throw fits, or has she thrown some fits? How many fits are we talking? Grinds instruction to a halt, and she'll be very mean. She's kind of it's like.
Well, what I think is weird is the OP says, she'll throw fits in class, total meltdowns, cursing and shouting. That makes sense to me. That's going to disrupt any classroom. But then OP says, and worse, she'll be mean, beyond cliquey. It's like, are you really? Is this about your kid being bullied, or is this about the greater good and like everyone's learning being interrupted?
Exactly.
To me, the cursing and the shouting in the middle of class, I would think would be like worse in terms of this issue and petition.
There's a black and white aspect to the way OP is wording things that I'm not very comfortable with. It's like OP has decided that this kid is evil. They are an evil fit thrower who is mean. And it's like, well, no, she's a girl who, like many girls her age, exhibits mean behaviors and has also thrown some fits, right? But OP is kind of painting this picture where like this is like just part of who she is. And I don't think that's very kind or understanding. OP says we tried to delicately communicate that her learning, whatever she is, was coming at the expense of all the other kids learning their academics. Oh, really? So the kids haven't learned anything all year? That's what I'm saying, is that OP is rounding this all the way up and really like painting this child in, I think, a little bit of a ridiculous light. I don't think necessarily that the concerns are invalid, but like, God, you're getting a petition to have the kid removed? Like, can you imagine? It sounds horrible.
What's interesting to me is that OP says at the end, before this instance, I would have completely agreed. So I'm kind of like, they would have agreed that that it wouldn't have been, they would have agreed that everyone with the problem should leave versus the child who's causing maybe some problems should leave. But now all of a sudden OP's affected, and then they're like, no, just kidding.
Lauren H says, YTA, this is a child. This is a child you're ganging up on. Absolutely shameful. Ask your child to be moved. I'm not ready to quite swing for that. I think this is tough. It's obviously a pain point for either child, but what I don't see coming from OP sufficiently is like, well, who is this child? Who is this mother? What really is the issue? It just kind of seems like, well, I found someone who agrees with me. That she's mean, by the way. I don't really know the nature of this fit throwing problem. And like I said, so what? This is a school devoid of discipline? It just really seems like she's decided, or OP has decided, that this girl is, unacceptable. So it's like, well, what is the basis of that? That one other parent agrees? It's not really crystal clear to me what's going on here.
Yeah, this mom sounds like she has zero empathy for what's going on with this other student. And I get it. I understand it. She sees that her daughter is possibly losing instructional time. I think that she needs to also understand that you can't remove a child from a classroom and deprive them of an education. That's not something that we do. That is counter to our educational system. That is frankly illegal, and is something that I don't think any teacher or any administrator worth their salt would really entertain. And it's kind of surprising that it's gotten this far, that she's been able to really get the ball rolling as far as it has. I would think that at this point, admin would have nipped that in the bud. But this mom, again, I understand where she's coming from, but I don't think she's going about this the right way whatsoever. She's frankly a Karen. I can say so.
That's how I'm reading this, Christian, and that's what I'm curious about here, because I think Raven W is kind of landing where I'm landing, or at least having to inquire about. She says the school and the teachers are the asshole. This is a bad situation all around. Yes, the troubled child needs to have access to an education, but the other children need to be protected from her as well. So if I take OP and say, okay, well, OP's right, let's just give OP the Benny of the D, then I must have to also believe that the school is simply not handling this girl. So either OP is painting a picture where this girl is basically out of control and quote unquote ruining it for everyone. Okay, she didn't say that exactly. She said, damaging the education or whatever, or the school is incompetent. So I don't know what to make of that.
Well, my read on it is that the mom isn't mentioning any other solutions because she only has it in her mind that the only solution is someone's getting removed from this classroom. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone.
No, she's deploying the nuclear option when their peace talks are a possibility. Well, I guess she said that she went to talk to the other parent, but there's a lot more wiggle room in there, I feel, than, between talking to the other parent and, hey, get this girl booted. Also, sorry, I don't have the text in front of me, but protect your child. If her child was in physical danger, I might empathize a bit more, and I might say, "Whoa, okay, let's look at this." if it's disruption, I don't think that you are necessarily protecting your child in that instance.
Exactly.
I get it. You want them to have a education that isn't disruptive, but a classroom that's been disruptive or has been disrupted is not the same as your child needing protection. Your child, as I hear it, is not being targeted or threatened or harassed in any way, unless I missed that.
Yes,
I don't think we
that,
can tell from what OP said that that's the case. So,
well, what OP has said is
I'm
that
saying we can't say that the OP's daughter is being like targeted or harassed necessarily.
No.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
no. OP's daughter was hit. This girl did, throw something at her. It seems like, well, actually, no.
Metaphorically.
She never specifically. Did she ever specifically say, yeah, there was an issue between the two of them personally?
Yeah, and
that there were a few encounters, okay? But look at some of the things like I said, she labels this girl very mean, which I think is, dangerous to throw a trait on her. And then she also uses this kind of strange phrase, feeling socially safe. Really, socially safe. I don't know what that is, socially safe. So there is no physical danger. So it really does. This is giving me Karen vibes because I feel like OP is very eager to just, round down as much as possible and make this girl out to be, I think there's a lot of ambiguity here on what's actually happening. I'm very confused, and I trust the system, and maybe I'm naive, Christian, you tell me. I trust the system that if she actually is a constant disruption, that she would be suspended and there would be disciplinary measures in place.
I mean, I have been very fortunate to work in schools that are functional, and in any functional school, not necessarily a suspension, but yeah, there would be some kind of consequence. There would be something to ensure the safety of other students first and foremost, right? Because the school has to be physically safe and secure for everyone. And if that's not happening, then the school isn't functioning. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, or the Benny of the D, as you like to say, to the school here that we have competent people in place. I could be wrong, and maybe the OP is underselling it, and the student here is swinging from the chandelier and jumping on desks and giving piggyback rides. But again, I'm going to assume that every professional in that room, in that building, is not even good, just competent.
Right.
And if that's the case, then it's a safe environment in the sense that no one is or everyone is secure. And that is, again, first and foremost, what needs to be happening. And you don't take a kid out of a classroom if that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like we're circling on an answer here. I guess it's just very hard for me to view the school as the asshole, because I think you're right. We've not placed a terribly high bar for them. We're just asking that this is a functioning, competent school. I believe it is. I believe that's probable. I know the American education system isn't perfect, but I think that's more like the situation. And I definitely know that there's a lot of Karen moms out there. Top Reddit comment, Yosoy666, you would not be the asshole if you went to the board and asked them to come up with a solution. They might decide to offer extra support to that classroom. You can also ask to have your child move to another classroom. And I think that this comment does kind of allude to my problem with OP primarily because, first of all, I don't hear any empathy deployed for the little girl. She should be concerned for the little girl and not taking pot shots at her, which I think just shows that she's just really not thinking about this little girl's best interest, and that she's specifically advocating, that her removal. And I don't think that's any of her business. And she could elevate the issue and she could make it an issue and she could make it an issue about her daughter. But to specifically suggest kick this girl out, that feels mean and like bullying to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Can I just say really quick, when I read Reddit comments, and maybe it's because I teach in a large district, but when I read Reddit comments about talking to the board, in my head, I'm thinking, the board won't give a shit. They will tell you, go talk to the principal, or they'll say, who are you? Get out of my office. Because that's just not something a school board would deal with. But I don't know. Maybe, suburban towns, small rural districts might be different.
I'm getting like big little eyes energy from this post.
Yeah, this is
like
Monterey.
A ritzy Monterey, California school district where anybody can just waltz up there and talk to the board.
Ryan O writes, going to go way against the grain here and say NTA. The kid's a bully. Do most bullies have some shit they're working through? Yes. Does that excuse them from being a bully? No. The kid needs to see a child psychologist to work through their issues, but in the meantime, it's not a safe environment for anybody in that classroom to be in. No, Ryan. No. It's not unsafe because someone was mean, okay? That's ridiculous. What will words mean? That's ridiculous. I understand the kids can be assholes. I was an asshole kid myself. I don't deny. I mean, I'm an asshole person. So, but that doesn't mean that these kids, I actually think it was somewhat wise how this woman came back, and that doesn't mean she's necessarily right and that her daughter doesn't need an IEP or doesn't need some special attention, but she's right. Welcome to public school. Your kids are going to have to get along with all kinds of people. It's true.
I'm listening to this classroom and I'm thinking back to some of my past classes and I'm thinking, you know what? This class isn't that bad. That girl doesn't sound that terrible. I think I've seen some crazier shit in my day.
The post went ESH on Reddit. That was the tag on it. Purple MP12 writes, ESH except the kids. It's fair to ask your child to be moved to a different classroom, but circulating a petition to single out a child is awful. It sounds like this child needs extra support that she isn't receiving and that her parents have declined. A child who has regular meltdowns like that needs extra support. Her parents are assholes for not getting it to her. The school admin are assholes for violating FERPA and sharing information they shouldn't have. I can't believe, what is FERPA? It just reminds me of FUPA, and it's making me laugh because I'm a child. Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act.
It's the HIPAA of education.
The HIPAA of education. I don't know. I'm going to let you guide us, Christian, because listen, AITA for circulating a petition to have a child removed from my class. I'm ready to call the YTA. If you're going to tell me as a teacher that a FERPA violation of this nature makes the school the asshole, I can move to ESH, but what say you?
I mean, that's one aspect of it, and in that sense, they're the asshole, but like if we're taking this from a holistic approach, right, then I would say no, YTA, because that's like the one, the school could be doing more. But again, we don't know if they're not doing more. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know if they have interventions or supports in place. The OP doesn't mention that. And again, I'm going to assume that there's some competent, again, not even good, just competent professionals in place, and that there are interventions. And okay, they done messed up by having mentioned that to the mom. But other than that, I'm ready to give the school the benefit of the doubt and place the onus of assholeness on just the OP. Yeah, YTA.
I will.
Sarah?
I'm not going to fight the resident expert on it. So, yes, I will go YTA also.
And that's a YTA. Christian, thank you so much for joining us. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you for being an expert. It's like so great that you're legit in on this. I think this is a really great thing. I feel like we gave a good analysis.
Yeah, I feel
First
like
time I've ever been called an expert, so thank you for that. I feel
you are. I mean, you are. And thank you so much for joining us. I hope you keep drinking and keep spending more money on higher Patreon tiers. There's one higher, so.
Well, New Year's is coming up, so that might factor into it.
We're joined by Ash from Pennsylvania. Very happy to have Ash on the program today. He is a high schooler in Pennsylvania. Imagine that. Welcome to the show,
the
Ash.
Youth Coalition.
Hello.
Excited to ask you, because you're in high school in the social media era, and I think Sarah and I are both relieved to learn that you're not a big social media person,
Definitely not.
Danny can't handle anyone who's better at TikTok than him, so it's for the best.
Well, that's great. And then you also mentioned that you're in a virtual school situation. There is no real, physical school at this juncture.
Yep, it's dedicated unsophisticated online school, and that's really all the more I feel comfortable going into online, if that's okay. I'm very awkwardly worried about like personal security and things, so there's that.
We understand.
I'm very personally insecure myself, but folks, we're going to be talking about AITA for having my ex's university admission rescinded.
Ooh, extreme.
Brutal here. Very extreme. I, 18F, dated my ex, 18M, from sophomore to the end of junior year of high school. So that's 2 years by my count there. We broke up amicably, and both moved on. He dated more girls during the summer while I remained single. We were still around each other a lot because our circle of friends had blended and our younger sisters were best friends. At the beginning of senior year, I still texted him from time to time because we shared a government class and sometimes compared notes. But overall, we weren't that close. Toward December, things with his girlfriend got rough. He began to lean on me like an emotional crutch, often asking me if I could come over so he could vent to me in person. Once, he asked me to go out to get dinner with him. I declined because I wanted to respect his girlfriend and because I was not his friend. He then decided it was a good time to tell me that he still loved me and wanted to get back together because he could see himself marrying me and having kids one day. I was extremely creeped out because I was, and still am, a teenager who wasn't even thinking about those things. I told him that I didn't feel the same. He did a complete 180. He called me a prude that was full of herself and said that I should be careful because no one would want a girl with brains and that he was my best option for a future.
Ew.
That's gross.
That's awful. I ended up blocking him so I could spend the holidays in peace. I thought that everything would go back to normal. But when I got back to school, everything blew up. I noticed everyone was giving me odd looks and was confused until my friend pulled me aside and told me that my ex had decided to expose the quote-unquote truth behind our breakup. Basically, he told anyone who would listen that I was cheating, sleeping around, almost gave him an STD. To make things worse, he claimed that I had taken videos of it and shared it with him, which is, needless to say, a federal crime. I was pissed. 1, I'd never slept with anyone. He was the one trying to pressure me into that. 2, I come from a Catholic family who would disown me if they even heard a rumor that I was having premarital relations. 3, I was being accused of a federal crime. I went straight to the dean and told him everything. We attended a private school that didn't take things lightly, and I was assured that swift action would be taken. I left it at that, trusting that the school would do what they felt was right. 3 months later, I come to find out his admission to a top university along with his full ride scholarship for football had been rescinded. I was shocked when I called to the dean's office and given a formal apology from my ex and his parents. At that time, it felt right, but now I feel like the punishment may have been too harsh, even if what he accused me of could have put me in jail. AITA.
Woof. Okay, I do want to point out, what does that mean to almost give someone an STD? Like, technically, every time you have sex, you could almost be giving someone an STD. That is fake news.
I was gonna say that's a very cut and dry. You either do give them one or don't give them one. It's not very much an almost.
Yeah.
You can get a tiny little herpes, not the whole thing, just a little herpes.
Diet herpes.
Give them HP. No, HPV.
HP, yeah, the only disease worse than human papillomavirus, a Hewlett-Packard laptop. Let's just get into what he actually did. He threatened. Well, he spread rumors, so he basically slandered her, right? Or is that libel, Sarah? I always forget how that works.
I think slander might be the written. It doesn't matter. Let's call it slander.
Nobody
it's defamatory.
knows.
It's that's one of those things where it's like, well, it's very overlapping and it's very confusing and no one's 100% sure, but there's definitely a difference. We promise.
Definitely.
He went around and he made all these terrible comments about this person and ruined their reputation. 'Cause that's really bad. Like, you spread lies about someone that are like unattractive and straight up evil.
Yeah.
You know, like this is not a trivial rumor that you spread.
Lying about somebody with the intention to actively hurt them as a character is just a bad decision because those lies can be disproven and it can blow up in your face very easily. So that's one thing.
Yeah, and he also just did this because he was butthurt. Not that there's ever a good reason to spread a false rumor about someone there isn't, but...
Not to mention it's a federal crime that's being accused of.
Yeah. Well, I think
What is the
if he's
federal
saying
crime?
that she was filming them without their consent, then that is absolutely a crime.
I don't know. I don't think
Wait,
that is
but they
actually
were
a crime.
they were in high school, and they did it say that they were 18 at the time, or like, because they said they were 18, did it say they were 18 like at the current time, or they were teenagers when it happened, or they were 18 when it happened? What did it say?
Well, I guess now they're both 18, so they
Okay.
probably started dating when they were like 16. So I don't know if
so
that's a crime.
two federal crimes.
I guess. Sorry, I'm getting lost here because they said he told anyone that would listen I was cheating and sleeping with others and almost gave him an STD. To make things worse, he claimed that I had taken videos of it and shared it with him. Oh, so he claimed that she had taken videos of her cheating on him?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
This
what it
is-
says. Oh,
It's just
I
such an
completely
insane-
misunderstood.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. I think the
That's a
OP
weird
is
way to write it.
focusing
What?
a little bit too much on the potential crime aspect, which I don't think
Yeah.
anyone's really delving that deeply into.
Nope. Unless you're me. I do that quite a bit.
I mean, my first kind of response to, not really OP, but to this guy is this great tweet I saw, which is just like, well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions.
That's such a good tweet.
Spencer C. writes, NTA, don't be afraid to hold people accountable for crimes they choose to commit. You didn't ruin his life. He ruined his own life. I think that pretty much lines up with the old tweet there. Mia G. NTA, women are not a pawn. I hope he realizes the severity of acting like a little bitch. Also, unless you went to the dean and demanded they rescind a scholarship, what they chose to do doesn't fall on you. Why is she saying women are not a pawn?
I mean, I think he just kind of took her down a billion pegs to try to build up his own
I was
ego.
gonna say he's
I guess that
using.
is what he did. Yeah, because then he also
Yeah, I was gonna say he's using her for his overall self-ego building plan, like a pawn in chess. I think that's kind of what it meant.
Right,
Yeah.
because there's also this portion where before he goes to slander libel town, he called her a prude that was full of herself.
I don't know what
It
prude
said-
means, to be fully honest.
You don't know what prude means?
No, it's a new word for me.
Oh, good for you. Look at that. So the youth are changing.
I love that.
Prude is a prude. How do you describe a prude? I guess my first kind of blush is like someone who doesn't put out, but that's not
No.
really a good way to put it.
I think
Sarah.
it's someone
Why
who's
don't
like
you tell?
sexually inexperienced, but also like off-put by sex or frigid.
So just someone who doesn't want to do sex. That's
I mean, the
That's
weird
just
thing is high school is so weird because they take adult insults and try to lobby them at people. Like, I remember when I was in high school, one time this girl called me a slut and I had literally never kissed someone.
Oh, you have no idea. When I was here's can I go off into a little side story?
Absolutely.
Go.
When I was in 6th grade, there was this guy and a girl that they were never in a relationship. That's one thing that people got wrong about the situation, but they were close friends. And there was this other girl in the middle that they were both friends with, and drama happened. And this girl started using insults in 6th grade, like slut and things. And everyone was like, and then to make matters worse, so this kid was his YouTube channel was small, but it was surprisingly going well. He's abandoned it now. But she decided to make a YouTube video, quote unquote, exposing him and saying he's an abuser when they're in 6th grade.
Oh my God.
My God.
And then he made a video responding because it surprisingly actually got relatively viewed. Like almost everybody in the school had seen it, responding. And then in the comments she's like, well, look who's making drama. And everybody was like, you started this, and it blew up in their face.
Oh my God. I'm so glad we didn't really have the internet. I mean, we did, but we didn't really have social media like that when I was in middle school.
No, we didn't have youth. There was one video on YouTube.
That's what I'm saying.
It was,
Thank God.
Shoes. It was shoes, and that was it. And
Shoes.
then there was muffins, and that
muffins.
was the only videos on YouTube. Whisper M writes, NTA, the punishment was out of your control, but you bringing it up to a superior was the right thing to do. Absolutely. She had to do some kind of damage control. This
Yeah.
is, sheer madness. Kira F, never let a selfish, manipulative, misogynistic dickhead guilt you into feeling bad for standing up for yourself. NTA,
Hell yeah.
that's on point.
Yeah. I was going to say, there is no way they are the asshole here. And if someone did write YTA, I want to know what that train of thought is. Like, what situation could be spun of the situation to make them the asshole is something I kind of wonder now.
I think the only justification that you would see, which I would vehemently disagree with, would be, oh, you ruined his life and whatever, he's just a boy and blah, blah, blah. So F that. I agree with you.
Yeah, I actually just searched the entire Reddit for this, and it appears that there is literally no ESHs, this is just NTAs all the way through.
Woo!
I have this problem where I like challenging moral ideas, and I kind of want to play. I want to challenge a little bit on the "you're ruining his life," because this is all high school drama. What happens after high school doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter, of course, but like, is possibly ruining an entire life because like they weren't actually like pursuing anything of that person besides words. Is it fair to possibly justify ruining his entire life because of him being dumb and a teenager and in high school? Yes,
I could hear someone making that argument for sure, because his punishment is definitely going to have long-lasting effects. However, I mean, I think we all agree on this, but I'll go with you here. Theoretically, what he did could have also ruined her life if she had gotten disowned by her family. That is very true. I forgot the Catholic part.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a dangerous kind of road here to basically say like, oh, well, a victim calling out the perp is ruining their life in any situation. That could be, something as relatively trivial as this or, whatever, murder or anything, right? Because it's kind of like, well, no, well,
if they're murdered, they're dead, so they can't call
right. So murder would not actually work for this example. You are correct. Well, it could be a ghost, but we don't need to get into that. But the point being that this kind of language is essentially just victim blaming, right? Because it's like, well, she didn't ruin his life. He did this thing, and that ruined his life.
And she didn't do it anyway. She had no part in the punishment picking anyway. Yeah. So I guess my own argument doesn't work. I guess my own, coming at you argument doesn't work because she never said anything about punishment. She just brought it up.
100%.
Exactly. And, I did search this more. I actually loaded all 900 comments. Mr. Sinister, YTA, he doesn't deserve to have his entire life ruined.
Wow. We predicted it.
YTA, right. You cost your ex tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, probably millions of dollars, theoretically, but who cares?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you play this kind of ruined your life game, because here's what ruined your life, that little phrase is kind of secretly doing. It's like, it kind of removes all the agency off him and just throws it all on OP for no reason. Yeah. It's like, well, yes, getting caught doing a horrible thing, the, proverbial consequences of your actions knocking on the door. Yeah, that can have a massively negative impact. It can also be wildly transformative. You can go, oh, look, I'm a huge piece of shit. I did a huge piece of shit thing. So now I'm going to channel this energy and figure out what's wrong with me or whatever and turn this around. So, I think it's a very slippery slope and it just doesn't hold any water really to
agree. Also, I'll say it. They are going to a private high school. I think they'll be fine. I think this kid will be fine.
Oh,
he'll get into a college.
I completely missed that part as well.
It'll be okay.
YTA, you ruined his future because of rumors. SMFH.
Okay.
Well, you could argue the same thing could have happened to OP here, so...
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, you're an asshole because you ruined his life with rumors. Well, all OP did was talk to the dean. If we're going to get all hyper literal about things, all she did was say some stuff.
Right,
the Catholic part, the really strict Catholic part as well... If OP is 100% honest and isn't exaggerating how strict their parents are, OP's life could have been ruined just as equally as the kid.
Yes.
I for some reason want to call him Adam.
What an Adam move.
Well, I think we agree wholeheartedly on this one. AITA for having my ex's university admission rescinded. We tried to see the other side, but there's really no question here. I think we all agree.
I can have it. Yay. NTA.
NTA it is, and the ex is the asshole.
Very much so.
Thank you so much for joining us. And by the way, everyone, Ash is on our Patreon. He is the highest possible tier, so he can really call the shots and tell us whatever he wants us to do. So,
and if no one else to sign up, there's only 7 slots of the highest available left. So sign up while you can.
Thanks for joining us, Ash.
You're welcome. How do I leave this now?
We welcome Tamra to the call-in show.
Hey.
Hey there, not your first rodeo. This is your third call-in show. 3 strikes and you're in, I guess. I don't know.
My third rodeo.
Now, you are a Michigan person. Is there a word for someone from Michigan?
A Michiganer?
Michiganer? That felt weird.
We are officially Michigan people. No, we are called Michiganders.
No.
Yes.
Is that
Is
real?
that true?
Michigander?
Oh my
That's
God.
so true. That's what we call ourselves.
Michigander.
That's
I
amazing.
mean, I don't know. What else would we be? Michiganers is just weird.
Yeah, Michiganers is weird.
Michiganites?
Michiganites.
I mean, it sounds like a
Michiganites.
rock, maybe?
Sounds like
I don't
something
know.
Jewish.
Yeah, because Meshuggah means crazy in Hebrew.
Oh, well,
In that case,
maybe it would work.
You don't want to be Meshuggahnites.
Okay.
you were previously on the pod because you're child-free, but you're not like annoying child-free. You just happen to have no kids.
Correct. I
And-
like to think I'm respectfully child-free.
Respectfully child-free, and you're a frequent traveler, so I mean, is COVID wearing on you because you're such a
COVID
big
is
travel
so
fan?
hard. Yes, my passport has dust on it for the first time in forever, and I miss the world. I am tired of seeing Michigan. I would love to see anywhere else in the world. Like really, just about anywhere would be great.
All right, so first place you're going when the vaccine hits or whatever.
Oh, gosh.
Where you go?
Well, it would probably be Europe. My sister lives in Switzerland, and I really miss her. I haven't seen her in over a year, so I'm pretty sure I would be straight over to visit her.
That sounds nice.
I've heard Switzerland's very expensive.
Oh man, is it expensive? It is insane over there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The joke that I have with her going right now is that she'll know when she's made it when she can justify buying herself a steak dinner. Because it's just
Oh
so
my
ungodly
God.
expensive to buy like everything over there.
oh my gosh.
But isn't everything also free? Like there's universal health care and stuff, and the minimum wage is good?
They get high wages too, like living wages. So if you live there, it's great. Things are still expensive, but they're manageable. Whereas, for travelers, it's a little bit of a shell shock. I remember we went out to a nice bar and I got one round and it was 3 of us. And we each got some sort of like gin drink, like a gin and tonic, but kind of fancy. And it ended up with tip being like $65, which maybe for you guys in New York is normal.
Yeah,
For
I'm
me,
like,
that's
that's
it.
not normal.
Seems about standard, but definitely on the expensive side of standard.
Yeah.
I thought you
it
were gonna
was
say
just
$100
a little
bucks.
shocking.
Yeah, me too. I think we're just,
New York
what's
is-
the word? Oh my God. We're like traumatized.
Yeah, New York is like, you want an egg? An egg is $50.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, it
Pretty
is.
much.
That
Oh
is
my
true.
gosh. That's like when I went to Whole Foods one time to like kill time, like back when Danny and I recorded in person. And like, I think I got salmon, like one piece of salmon and a carton of eggs, and it was like $30. And I was like, you have to be
No.
kidding. How do people live like this?
I don't know how you could even justify that. Like,
Yeah.
even if you were to go fishing yourself, it would, no.
It was nuts. The eggs were like $6 for the little 6-pack because they were, I don't know, just like there were no normal eggs. It was only like cage free, range free. We gently coaxed the eggs out of the hen, like
Organic chicken-free eggs.
Yeah.
Like,
pretty much.
Wow.
well, we got a interesting situation for you people today. AITA for my reaction when my wife wanted to sell my dad's truck.
Please
That
read
is how
it in
you
a
pronounce
southern
truck.
accent.
Truck. I think that would be fatiguing. Maybe I'll do the first paragraph. My 34 dad passed away from lung cancer. Okay, I can't say cancer stuff like that. My 34 dad passed away from lung cancer after struggling for long. It was an incredibly horrible time. My dad was the only parent I had. I've never seen my mom. Never met her. My dad was my rock. He was such a strong, confident man that he was able to take care of us 4 siblings without hesitation. His death was devastating, and I'm still processing what happened. This was 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Right?
2 weeks? Like burying the lead. Jesus.
Yeah. Like, what are the steps of the grieving process? Denial, make a Reddit post. My dad had a Chevrolet pickup truck that was with him all his life. I had a lot of memories with my dad's truck. Everything about it reminds me of Dad. The seats, the smell, the George Strait cassettes, whenever I see it or sit in it, I'm brought back to those days. My siblings allowed me to take the truck. Although it's not running, I wanted to bring it home and start working on it, fix every issue, just to keep my dad's memory alive. I know he'd always wanted to see it and hear it running. I brought it home. My neighbors liked it and asked if it was for sale. I explained what I wanted to do with it and they wished me luck. My wife's reaction was that I shouldn't spend my inheritance money on fixing it because she thought there was no hope. I told her it's just not about the money. This is a goal I've set in front of my eyes and I'm willing to do all I can. Plus I got my brother helping me, so it's okay. My wife complained about the truck taking so much space, time, and effort. She tried to convince me to sell it, but I declined. She said I was wasting my time, but that didn't bother me, so I don't understand what her problem is. Last week, she took pictures of it. I thought nothing of it when she said she wanted to post on FB that displays old trucks and such. But yesterday I got home and my wife sat with me telling me that someone contacted her a few days ago about the truck and said he liked it and offered X money, which she thought was a great deal given the fact the truck isn't worth that much. She said the buyer came and looked at it and paid some money up front and said that he would be coming the next day to get paperwork done and pay the rest of the money. She said this is a great deal that I'll be crazy to miss and all I have to do is accept. I lost it. I yelled. Told her she had no right and this truck is my entire childhood. I demanded that she contacts the buyer, return the money, and forget this whole thing. She said she won't talk till I calm down. She didn't call the buyer nor listen to me. She said I shouldn't waste money on it, instead make money out of it, especially now. We're still arguing and she's acting like I was being harsh on her. AITA.
Oof.
Okay, let me just say I normally don't like to do this, but this is fake. There's no way. She took the money? How could she take the money? She took half of, who in their right mind would put half down for a Facebook post? Like, that's like putting half down for a Craigslist. Is that plausible?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because like when I would try to even just sell my armoires, my IKEA armoires on Facebook for like, $40, nobody would show up. People would say they were coming and then not come. And like, I wouldn't believe that I had sold it until I actually had the money in hand and they were taking it away.
No one's putting money down on these things, but whatever. We'll play it as it lays.
Yeah, that's true.
It's beyond the money. It's all plausible. I mean, we've definitely done stuff like this before. Tamara, what say you?
I feel like there have been a couple of posts similar to this recently where people have sold items that didn't belong to them exclusively.
Sold or thrown out? We had the
both,
socks,
like
the socks boyfriend.
Yeah, there's just been a couple of instances, I feel like, where this has been coming out. And I feel like on the surface, this is an obvious NTA. The only thing that I would say is that the way the OP describes the situation is very passive. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, like, he even says that his siblings allowed him to take it. He just used certain words that kind of made me wonder if he actually expressed to his wife what this meant to him, because she's acting all like shocked that he would get angry, and it just doesn't quite add up to me. So it makes me think that maybe he hadn't really expressed himself to her and what the car meant to him. But that's it. Like, that's the only thing that I can maybe surmise out of this. Everything else just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see, like, how much is this inheritance? How much is that money going to mean to them? It's obviously not okay for her to go behind his back and try to sell it, but is he kind of being a little bit stubborn when, like, they could really use this money and not for, like, a sentimental project?
But the issue that I come up with based on the letter isn't that they need the money from the car. She said she didn't want him to spend his inheritance fixing the car.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like they're in desperate need of money where he would need to actually sell it. It sounds like she doesn't want him to put his resources into fixing it up, including time and money. Which time, maybe, maybe. But that's something they would have to work out and communicate with. It just seems ridiculous that she would expect him to spend his inheritance a certain way
Yeah.
I mean, it's his father's car. Like, how can you not at least let him just hold on to it for a while? Even if you think it's an eyesore, who cares what you think? It's his dead dad's.
Yeah.
I think the eyesore aspect is actually one of the more fair points she makes.
Really?
Well, because look, it is his inheritance. I think money coming in that way, unless they're in dire straits of some kind, is ultimately gonna, fall on him, and that's kind of his money to spend however the fuck he wants. I hope they weren't sitting there like, well, when your dad dies, we'll finally get this money, So it's kind of just like a windfall that he gets. But the truck taking up space is kind of valid. I mean, look, like it's their place. Like, I don't know where they live. Obviously, it's not New York City, but it's, that's kind of like, I guess I'm picking up on something you kind of said, which is like, how much of this is an imposition? Like, yeah, he does have a right, and I think she should be nice and reasonable and understand, like, this might be part of his grieving process, but, like, she can kind of be like, well, now there's a huge truck in my front lawn. It's my front lawn, too. Like, just because you're going through some shit doesn't mean you gotta just do whatever the fuck you want with your huge truck.
Yeah, like I see that argument. I think the money is more valid because it's like they could probably both use it for something. Like even if it's not, like even if you don't have to sell the car, to just take that inheritance money and put it towards something they could both use versus like him fixing up the truck.
But you're not with me on, the death of a parent is kind of like windfall cash that goes to the person whose parent fucking died. I mean, you really like, okay, so how are we going to split the money we got from your dead dad? I mean, that just seems horrific,
I don't know. It seems like, I don't like looking at this feels a little bit like more worse because it's like, well, this is a symbol of his dead parent. To me, like, I don't like looking at it is worse because it's just kind of superficial.
Yeah, but it's her space too. She has a right to the space, not a right to the money. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying that she should right away, right? This was 2 weeks ago, so she should kind of cork it for now. But like, he is kind of like walking on her a lot. This is the best defense.
What do you
I
mean
can
he's
mount.
walking on her?
Well, he's kind of like, this is my truck and it's going in our front yard and I'm fixing it with this money. And it's like, okay, like, yes, you do. I will like allow it, but like, you're kind of just unilaterally making these choices. I mean, how much money are we talking about? What percentages of their net wealth? Like, I reckon it's about 10 grand and, they live in a 200 grand house. So it's like probably not a trivial amount of money. Like, it seems like a conversation that could be had.
But that's just
that's
it,
what I
Danny. It
said
needed
too.
to be a conversation, not a unilateral decision on her part to just get rid of it. I mean, she really should have sat him down and said, honey, I know that you love this car, but I don't love looking at it. Can we think of another solution besides having it here? Like, there's so many things that she could have done, just beyond letting him grieve more than 2 weeks, But there's so many other ways that she could have approached this. And I would put it on her in this case because he's blinded by grief right now. He needs a little bit of extra empathy, I think, in a case like this. And it would have behooved her to talk
100%.
to him about her concerns.
100%.
And it's just absolutely ridiculous that she thought that she could just make the decision on both of their behalves.
Yeah, totally nuts.
Yeah, they're not in the same place, like
No,
his
they're
dad
not.
died.
It's 2 weeks. Like that's crazy town.
That's like just died. Whisper M, NTA, take pictures of your wife and post those on Marketplace. Trade her in for a different model. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that kind of. That's like feels like a sex trafficking joke.
Everybody has their limits. Good to know yours.
Nobody ever says throw out the whole woman, but that's like the same joke.
I'm sure someone says it, but not in our
I'm sure
group.
they do.
Sarah M, how tight is money that your wife is being this heartless? Are you all starving? Are bill collectors calling your places of work? Is it a time issue? Do you have a brand new baby? I just want to know why she would do this to you, because there has to be some reason she's being this much of a dick about something that means so much to you.
Yeah, like it just doesn't really make sense. Either he's not explaining something, or he's a huge pushover, or why are you married to this woman?
Toots F sees eye to eye with you. She says, not the asshole. Your wife lacks empathy, and this is a giant red flag. Consider a new wife. Auntie OP better take the truck to his siblings' home for safekeeping. This is fucked up. Pretty fucked up. Who picks on a griever? Leave him alone.
Weird to call someone a griever. I don't know why. Maybe it sounds like breeder, and that's why I'm like, let's not go there.
Like what? Like breeder?
Yeah, it sounds the same.
Okay.
I'm just having a weird association in my head. Maybe that's why.
It sounds like beaver. What next? The grievers are building dams? Okay, Sarah.
Okay.
Just roasting you because I think we all agree. I tried. There's no one likes a wife here. AITA for my reaction when my wife wanted to sell my dad's truck. I think we all agree wholeheartedly, not the asshole, and she is.
Yes.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Well, Tamara, thanks again for joining us, and I hope you don't sell anybody's truck.
I have no intentions of selling any property other than my own.
And we hope you can dust off your passport.
Me too. Thank you. I hope that Corona calms down all over the world for everyone and we can all dust off our passports soon.
Legit.
Sounds like a plan. Well, this is your third time, so we'll do a fourth soon. Thanks,
Woo,
Tamara.
that sounds awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Always a pleasure.